Right. Hi, everybody. Hey, Lena, Mina. Good to see you. So today we're going to play with some watercolor and some pan pastels. Yep, you heard it. I'm going mixed media. This was the pastel that we did last week, I believe. Very loose rendition. And I like doing these. They're very quick, but they're very calming to do. So how's everybody doing? Another snowy day here in Ontario, Canada. I'm getting tired of it. So I thought today, I don't know how many of you know of the artist Amanda Clark. Now I have done some acrylic paintings. Let me see if I can get that. With her style. So this is more or less Amanda Clark style. So very whimsical, that type of thing. Usually subtle colors. I wouldn't say they're bright. She usually uses soft looking colors and a lot of whimsical patterned trees, foregrounds, that type of thing. So lots of hills too. Here's a printout that I did just to show you. So this is the type of work that she does. I love her work. I think it's so, I don't know, I just love it. It's whimsical, but it's so beautiful. And I was studying her work and thinking, well, watercolor I think would work for this type of. She's an acrylic artist, and I thought, why not try it in watercolor? And then use some pan pastels to lighten the areas. I thought that might be kind of fun. So we would go a little bit darker in some of the areas and then lighten with pastels. And I also like this. I think this is one of her older paintings. And so everybody's got a bunch of stencils laying around, right? Why not put them in our watercolor too? So we'll do something similar to this, but I'm just going to put this up just to give me some inspiration. We won't do the exact same thing. And I have some watercolor paper here, and this is 140-pound cold pressed. It is not 100% cotton. It's just basic, what do they call it? Wood pulp, that type of thing. Yeah, isn't it beautiful, Lena? So I'm just going to spray my paints. Get a good coat of water on them so they're nice and juicy. And, well, let's try, we might do two. We'll see how much time this takes. And let's see, I'm going to just move this over a little bit. I think that's good for you guys. So I'm going to put in some lines just to figure out where I want my hills and stuff. Hey, B. This is going to be mixed media, B, but with watercolor. So, okay, so let's put a smaller hill in first in the foreground. And then maybe a tall one. And they don't have to be realistic. That's the nice thing about this. They can be very whimsical. So let's put some trees in here. Maybe some in here. And then maybe behind here we'll have another hill. And then a sun or a moon, whatever you want it to be. And I don't know if I'll put the bunny in this time or not. What do you guys think? Hey, Danielle. Glad to see you here. So this is going to be fairly loose. I'm going to use a lot of wet on wet with the watercolor, and I want it fairly dark. No, well, not dark, but I don't want it too light this time because we're going to be using a bunch of pan pastels on this one. But you do want your hills and valleys to be a little bit different than the next one behind it or in front of it. You like bunnies? Put it in. Okay. We'll put her in. Okay. So let's just do a big bunny in front like she did. So take it around. Big foot. Sitting on it. And then the tiny little head. Maybe he's looking up. And we'll put ears kind of waving back. Big ears. Like that. And the eye can go right here. And the little nose is right here. Like that. And then, of course, we've got to put the little tail in. Like that. Very simple. Whimsical bunnies don't have to be anatomically correct either. Just make them whatever way you want. Let's see. That would be a way. Just erasing some of those lines I don't need anymore. Like that. I think that looks good. Okay. So what color do you guys want this to be? Do you want it to be night, daytime? You pick the colors this time and I'll put her in. So you pick a color and then I'll do the analogous that goes with it. Analogous meaning the colors that's beside that color you pick on the color wheel. So shoot out some ideas for me. You want nighttime? Okay. With stars and moon, okay. So we'll have probably the sky in a nice, you want the turquoise? Okay, Lena. So the turquoise, blue, green. So we'll have the greens or the blues to the violet on the other side. That's analogous. Okay, this is going to be. Hey, Dot, good to see you. I was thinking about you. I was wondering how you were doing. If I didn't see you today, I was going to give you a little shout out, see what was going on. Your toy turquoise in your palette looks beautiful. Oh yeah, that is a gorgeous, well, that's a cobalt teal, but yeah, turquoise. All right, so we'll put some stars in later. So I'm going to use a little bit of gouache for the stars, and I'll let you see what happens when you put gouache on wet. It's awesome. And we'll have um, so turquoise, and we're going to have like dark blue. So I'm going to use the Payne's gray with the turquoise. And then as an accent color, we're going to do it into the greens. So we'll put in some little trees or whatever, maybe stuff on the bottom, we'll see. And then we'll put could put the bunny in gouache, or we could, I'm coughing from England, but thanks, but think I'm on the, oh, good. Glad to hear that, Dot. You keep care of yourself. Um, so we'll go turquoise into blue. So the turquoise into a little bit darker of blue. So cobalt blue maybe, or French ultramarine could work also, because we're staying on the analogous side. What is the name of your watercolor palette? This is my own concoction of a palette. So I basically put in, there's quite a bit of Daniel Smith. There's a bit of Holbein. There's a bit of M. Graham, Winsor Newton, Core, and Da Vinci. So I get favorites as I'm doing watercolor, and I just put them in. And I've got a bunch of different ones, and every once in a while I'll trade them out to see what I can do. I'm trying out Jelly Roll Pel ink pans for the first time for coloring. Jelly Roll palette ink pens? Is that what you're saying? Gel pens. Oh, okay. Cool. Use what you got. That's what I always say. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of us have a lot of supplies, and it's just sitting there. So I wanted to start using it again. And that's when you get into the mixed media. Do you have a recommended watercolor palette for beginners? Um, I haven't done a video on it, but what I can tell you for a beginner, um, if you're not sure whether you're going to like watercolor, then I wouldn't spend the money for artist grade. You could go into a white night watercolor. They're fairly inexpensive, but they're really good. They have good pigment, and if you get their 24 palette, they pretty well have everything you need in that one. Lena, you're an expert in this too. What would you suggest? Give them some ideas, if you don't mind. Lena's a fantastic artist. Also, if you want to go check out her channel there. And Lena is Miss Linux 2010. I just assume everyone knows that, but they don't. So check her out. Okay, so let's start off. Let's start off. How should I do this? I think I'm going to leave the bunny, although that's I'm a little more difficult when you have to paint around something, but he's not too bad. So let's do a nice, this is a cobalt blue by Winsor and Newton. 103 for a 36 set. Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. They were cheaper, but you know, the way things are going in the world, everything's gotten to be a little more expensive. Because if you get a 36 set of, say, Daniel Smith, you're going to pay over $250. And White Knight is really good. Van Gogh, starter grade. Is another one that Miss Lennox says. Thanks, Lena. So I've got this cobalt blue, and I'm going to start. Let's wet the area first. So I'm just taking my clean water, and I'm going to go around the area and wet it around the little tail and the bunny. Because where you wet is the place that the watercolor will go on. If you haven't wet any area, it will not go in that area. It has to be wet. So just make sure you have a good coat, but not puddled. Okay, and I'm looking at the side and I can see the shine. I have Hobby Lobby brand watercolor and they do me good. Okay, awesome. So if you decide you'd like doing more, then I would suggest getting into your artist grade afterwards. You will see a difference. The pigment is crazy better. Okay, so this is the cobalt blue, and I'm just gonna run it across the bottom, and you can either just let it do its thing. You could have this blotchy if you want. You could let it bloom, meaning the cauliflower effect that a lot of artists kind of frown on, but I like. And just let it dry like that, and you will see that your watercolors will dry lighter. The only one that doesn't dry as light is the core watercolors because they have a different binder in it that stops them from fading so much, apparently. Let's put a little bit of ultramarine just on the bottom here. I think just to darken that a little bit. Now this does have quite a bit of water on it right now, but let's see if we can add a little bit more. Now when you want to use a lot of water in your watercolors and on your paper, I would suggest using a watercolor paper. It becomes a little bit difficult doing this on, say, sketchbook paper, like my sketchbook that I've been using for watercolor. Just get them on sale. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll let that just merge together. And then our next one, let's make this one the aqua color. And this is actually Cobalt Teal by Core. Now, try and stay away from the edge of the blue one we just painted. I don't want this leaking into it. And I'm doing wet into dry right now, so I have more control. Now there's different ways of making these lighter areas also. If you don't have pastels, then all you need to do is either use less pigment and more water, so it's lighter, or you can remove the pigment once it starts to dry a bit with a damp brush. We're going to play a little bit, experiment. Now you could also wait till this blue part down here was dry before you continued. It's up to you how quickly you want to get this done. Being that I'm streaming, I do it a little quicker because I don't want to have this stream go too long. Hey Joan, good to see you. Okay, let's do it would get, well, not necessarily you have to go with all the rules as far as typically if you were to do this in a realistic way, the little hills and mountains would be lighter as you go back, but yeah, we're not going to stick to that because it's a fantasy. Now this is going to be a little tree area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's do a little bit of this Payne's Gray. And this is Winsor Newton Payne's Gray. And I'm just going to put a little bit in the, let's wet it first. I'm going to put a little bit in the bottom area here, just so it's darker on the bottom and lighter as it goes up. And then we'll be putting in little tree branches and little designs, I guess, patterns. Now, I'm going to just tilt it a little because I don't want this going up too far. So this Payne's Gray can just sit on the bottom. And then I can kind of just tilt it and make it go where I want. Okay, so while that's drying, I'm going to do the sky. So the sky is going to be a really dark sky. So I'm going to get some paint or white gouache here in a little container. This is Winsor Newton gouache. And I'm going to get a different brush. I don't like using my good brushes. I usually use a acrylic brush for doing this type of thing. And I want it to be kind of a watery, milky consistency. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there till I'm ready for it. Let's wet this area just a little bit around the hills. And I'm going to leave the moon. I'm not going to paint over the moon. Another tree is right here, which we'll paint into. Now you could take something round, flat, and put Kleenex over it and stamp out the moon too. I think I got it all. Looks good. All right. And then we'll take that Payne's Gray and just put that beautiful color in. Now you could have clouds, but I'm not going to do clouds. I'm just going to do the dark. These are so easy to do. They're fun. You don't have to worry about realism. But I really like the patterning of the trees and that type of thing. I think that's so cool. Okay, while that's wet, we're going to spray in some gouache. So I'm going to just take my wet gouache, want it fairly watered. And you want something with a little bit of something you can spray. So we want a few stars in there. And what happens is these stars will splurge out and almost have a halo around them, which makes them look really cool. So if you got a really watered down paper, the more water that's on it, the more you'll get. I wanted to see if you sold your art but could not find that you do. Do you have an Etsy page or somewhere else where your art can be purchased? No, I have never sold my art online. I just haven't thought of doing it. But if you're interested in something, you can always email me. Yeah, the gouache is really cool. And you can get different effects with different wetness. So if it's a little less wet, or even the gouache, if there's more water in it, it spreads more. If you want it to stay a little more round, then make it a little thicker. that type of thing. It's fun to play with. All right. Um, okay, it's starting to dry a little bit. Suppose we could do this one. Maybe we'll make this one fairly light. Maybe let's make this one. I'm going to clear a little area here on my palette, and I'm going to mix the teal with a little bit of blue, just to change the color up a little bit. My main channel page on YouTube has my email in the about page. This. That. Let's put some of this cobalt in there. Just change it up. Well, it's a little bit more on the bluer side. And let's put this on the bottom part. And just down here, I'm going to bring it up to this part. Like that. This is wet onto dry. And then I'm going to just take my paintbrush with some water on it. And from this part of the paper, I'm just going to go towards this and just touch that edge. And that'll just make the paint bloom up towards that center, and it softens it. So it gives that really pretty effect. And you can tip it if you want to make it go a little further. Like that. So let's add, let's do a little bit more of this. Maybe a tad of this in it. Mix it up. It's going to get a different look again, but it stays in the same family. Maybe this time I want it a little darker on the top and lighter on the bottom. So we'll go in with a wet brush again, clean water. And we just touch that edge and let it come down. Like that. See how soft it looks? Okay, this little guy, I'm going to just put a little spot in there. I don't know. That must have been a water droplet that fell on there. That's another thing you could do if you want texture. You could put some droplets of water. So we can put a little bit more, cover those white areas up a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to show you, can you can you use glazing medium with watercolor like you can with acrylics? No. Well, you could. Anything's possible, but it won't do the same thing. So if you use a acrylic with watercolor, like the glazing, you're going to get the glazing to turn that color, but it's not going to be able to move again once dry, or be able to have the watercolor go on top of it in the same way it would if it wasn't glazed, if that makes any sense. But it's always fun to try things like that. Like, you never know what effect you're going to get. So I would try things. If you're wondering, try them. I'm going to take some raw sienna here. I want this bunny with a little bit of color on the bottom. You know how bunnies get, they get a little bit dirty on their paws and legs. So let's put that in there a little bit. Just underneath his tail, a little bit of that sienna color. Just slight. It doesn't have to be real dark because he's going to be a white bunny. And then, oh, I forgot to put his arms in. So his arm is going to be just short, right here, like that. And then on his arm, we'll have a little bit of this here. Okay. And then we can take some of that bluish color that we made up, and right where the shadowed areas by his leg and his arm, put some of that in. Now this is wet on dry, so it'll be a little bit darker. I'm gonna add a little bit of that to this wet area too, that I just did, just to darken this area up. And then take a clean wet brush, and again I'll turn this around, take it into that area that you just did so it softens the edge of that one area. Okay. And we can do the same thing on his neck. So behind here would be a little bit darker by his ear. And I'm going to put down his neck a little bit. And this side of his ear, where it's touching the other one, right along there. And the inside of his ear would be darker. So add a little bit more color to that. You could always go back and add color if you find that there's not enough, but let it dry first. Okay, and then you want to soften it. Let's just soften that edge a little bit. That. Take some out. So you just make sure you have a damp brush, but not a wet brush. And just stroke the area. Let's move this back a little bit. That. There you go. All right. So around this moon here, let's put in, actually I'm going to take an eraser, so a kneaded eraser. Is this dry yet? And I'm just going to remove that pencil line. Okay. And then I'm going to make a little bit of a line around this moon with wet, clean water, and then just take a cloth and dab it. Because it would be a little bit lighter around that moon. Okay. Okay, so let's give this, oh, wait a minute. Let me put a little eye in. So I'm just going to put Payne's Gray in his eye. Let's get a fairly thick layer. So I want it nice and dark. Maybe a little bit in the bottom part of his ear too. It would be a little darker in there. Now, depending on what you like, you don't have to do a lot of detail. I like detail. It's just my thing. So let's try that with the heat gun. Thanks, Mina. Now you can clean that moon up too, make it more round by just cleaning up the edges. We can still do that after we dry also. We'll show you what happens. So see how it's curling? Just turn it over, heat the back, and it'll go back down. It's just the way it's drying. You could also iron your piece. Or tape it. All right. So now what we can do, if we want to clean up some of this, see how this is kind of a hard edge. Just take clean water and scrub that hard edge a little bit. And then it'll, depending on your paper you're using too, will depend on how much you can do this. Don't use a really rough, stiff brush though, because you will find that your paper will start to peel or pill rather. That. So it just softens it up a little bit. And you can do that anywhere. All right, so if you want lighter edges on any of the hills, like on the top, you can do the same thing as I did around the moon. This time I'm going to use some pan pastels. So let's first, do we need to do anything else? We could actually take my eraser and just go over it. Make sure it's good and dry though. And get rid of some of those pencil lines. Oh, that one wasn't dry. Okay, let's see. I erased that and it came up. But how do we fix that? Well, he's going to have some texture on him now. There you go. He's got a fuzzy butt. Okay. So I have some pan pastels, and what we want to do is you could either use just a plain white, or you could go into the color of whatever you have. So let's see. Let me take some of these out first. Possibly that one. The lighter shades. You could go into your darker shades too if you want. So there's a really dark. This one is phthalo blue extra dark. Or you could go into ultra blue extra dark. So they come in a tint and a shade. So you have your main color, then shades from light to dark. And I'll get a white. Titanium white. And let me get my tools. So we can put this aside for the time being. We don't really need it right now. We might later. We'll see. Okay. Now, I've heard that some people use eyeshadow palettes in place of pan pastels. Do you think that would work? Yes, I have seen that. It does work. It's not as pigmented and it's not archival. So it depends what you're looking for. But if you want to try it, yeah, use eyeshadow. Why not? I know these are a little on the pricey side, so if you're not sure you're going to like them, you know. Recommendations for pan pastels. Actually, golden paints actually bought out pan pastels, so you can now get them from Golden. You can also look on Amazon. Sometimes they have some sales on. I would probably look at what your colors are that you most gravitate to, what you want to do with them. There's landscape series, there's a portrait series, or there's just your primaries. So really, I couldn't say the colors that you should get because everybody's different. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're into more subtle colors for, say, landscapes, or you do portraits, or you're more into the vibrant stuff that a lot of people do. But they are excellent for adding that little bit of brightness to your papers. Did you ever try Jane Davenport's eyeshadows? Myself, no, I haven't. Again, that's a preference thing. Everybody's different, right? If you want to check out what they're like, Scraps to Beauty by Zandra has everything to do with Jane Davenport. She's done quite a few videos on that. She'd be a good one to check out. Or maybe even the Frugal Crafter. I'm not sure if she's ever tried them or not. There's so many tests that people do on YouTube. You probably find something. I myself have never tried them, so I couldn't say whether I would like them or not. All right. So now this has to be dry, so I'm going to dry his little bum. But you'll see how much this will add to your paintings. Okay, so if we wanted to, say, lighten this area here, let's see if this is going to be lighter. And all you have to do, this is one of their tools. So kind of like an eye application makeup tool. They are a little different though, and this is the one thing I have tested. The soft brand is made of something different. You know what it reminds me of? Is the slip-proof material that they use for underlays of rugs. I bet you any money it's very similar to that. It's got this density, but it doesn't stop it from releasing the pan pastels. Whereas the regular eyeliner or eyeshadow applicators that you get anywhere, they more or less, they pick up a bunch, but they don't put it down the same. I'll show you a little uh, thing with some. I do have some other applicators. I figured that Pan Pastels tools are better than makeup. Yeah. Okay, so, and you just have to dab. You don't scrape or rub. Just dab, and it doesn't take much. You may think, oh, there's not much on there. That's not going to do anything. They have a lot of pigment. So let's make this a little bit lighter. Now this might be too similar, but it does soften the look. So if you're doing something you want a softer look, these will work also. Let's try the white. A little bit softer on the top. Just blend it in. I'm not pressing hard either. And then all you have to do is wipe it off on paper towel. Let's see, what else? Let's try this color here on the top. See if it's light enough. Might be too similar. Yeah, it is too similar. Let's do the white. Just on the top here. Lighten it. Now we can enhance also. Now if you wanted to, you could do gouache too. If you don't have pan pastels, just do gouache. So let's add a little bit of the darker color. So let's go into, I wonder if I got a blue there. Dark, dark blue. Yes, I do. Okay, so that's a little darker. There's ultramarine blue, and there's the next one. There's the next one to that. So we could go into this, say, on the bottom. Make this darker. Maybe he's sitting, it's got a shadow under him. And if you go over the lines, just take your eraser and erase it. It's very easy to fix. That. How do you prevent the pan pastels from rubbing off? You use a fixative. So you would get a finished fixative and spray it on. The same type that you would use for watercolor or charcoal, or pastels. Let's put this a little bit darker in here. I use a lot of pastels when I do portraits because it cuts the amount of time needed to put on layers and layers of colored pencil. Maybe a little bit dark. You can mix them also. Either on your applicator or you can get larger sponges and mix them on that too. You can also use colored pencils on watercolor or the mix of all three too. Don't feel you have to be limited to one thing. If it makes the task easier in whatever it is you're doing, then try it. Why not? That's why I like my sketchbooks, so I can try this type of thing. Okay, let's do that dark blue again in here, just to show the edge of the hill. Like that. Maybe a little bit darker on the very bottom. Yeah, that looks good. Bit of that in here. You know what? I wonder if there is a way of making my own pan pastel. Well, if you got the recipe or the science behind how to do that, give it a try. Why not? Hey, Angel. Before I got a fixative spray, I just used regular hairspray and it sealed it okay. It was, yeah, that's true too, Lena. Good point. A lot of people did that where they used the hairspray. I remember doing that too. Forgot all about that. It's just fun to do. I really enjoy it. So let's do some really dark in here along the bottom. Maybe some white on the top. Bring it down into that blue that we just did. That. Okay. It's a very soft look you can achieve with these. All right, so then let's try this sky here. If we want to, say we want to enhance this a little bit. So with this white, I can go around this again and just soften it out as I go. There. Isn't that cool? I really like them. I think they're great. I'm going to put a little bit more of this blue just down in here and a little bit on his backside here. Here. Mixing the two colors. So they're still transparent looking. So you don't have to worry about coloring the color of your watercolor. It'll still show through. Put a little bit under his neck here. That. Maybe a little more in here. Just a touch of the dark. Like that. Water is away working. Oh, you're on your own? You get to play. All right. So now let's try some stenciling on this too. Now, where did I put those stencils? So I got a few out. Most of us do have stencils. And I want something probably like this, something small because it's a small area. I could use even this type of thing, parts of it, but I want it kind of a little bit. No, I think I'm going to use this one. Got this one too. I like this one. I think I'm going to put, it does have a bit of a direction in it. So let's use this here. So I'm going to take my, you could get a bigger sponge if you wanted to, but I want to be cautious on where this goes. So now I could go white or I could go dark. I think I'm going to go lighter. So let's see if this, yeah. And I'm just going to use my stencil to put in the lighter areas. Now, if you wanted to use your paint instead, what you do is you fix it first, and then you come back on it and add paint or colored pencil, whatever it is you want to use. That's why I think it's so fun to start playing with your other materials that you have. And they're just sitting there waiting to be used. Now it's very, very light. I don't know if you can see that. Very pale. But we can also use pen to go on top of that, to outline, that type of thing. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some colored pencils now in basically similar colors, or even a white, or I might take a white Posca even. Let's see, what's this one? This is a white charcoal, I believe. Let's see how this goes. Where do I want? Let's see if it outlines it. No, it's not gonna. Let's try. I might have to use a Posca for the white. Just looking to see where my, there it is. Let's see if the white colored pencil by Prisma works. No, it doesn't have enough tooth. Now I can fix it. Maybe I'll do that. Let me go and spray this and then I'll be right back. Uh, all right, just reading chat here. Oh, your granddaughter, a year old. Oh, they're such a cute thing. My son was so chubby when he was 1 year old. He looks so cute. I know. You gotta love those little rolls in their legs and arms, eh? Okay, let's try that a little bit more. Make sure it's good and dry. I'm not sure if, what is it? An acrylic varnish, or can't see why. As long as it's not a gloss, you could probably use it. I wouldn't use a gloss on pan pastel or watercolor. Yeah, sure, Laura. Okay, so let's. Okay, this is just titanium white. turquoise tint. Ultramarine blue tint. Turquoise. Ultramarine blue. Phthalo blue extra dark. And ultramarine blue shade. I think that was all of them. Okay, so I sprayed this, so let's see if this is going to work. A little bit better. It gives it a little bit of tooth. It's still not bright, bright. Depends how much you want to see it. So you could just outline. You could get a Posca, acrylic marker, that type of thing. And add a little bit more. We could try adding more of the pan pastel onto this again after it's been sprayed too, because a lot of times it works a little better. Let's see if I can find the right way it was on. I think that was it there. I think that was it. All right, where's my, there it is. Let's try that again, see if it made much of a difference. Yeah. Now at this point you could, like I said, use other stuff. So acrylic paint, gouache, you could go back over it with gouache too. That's, so there's a little bit, but not the best. So let's see. I am going to take some gouache because I have it out here, so why not use it? And my brush. Let's see what happens. You just have to be a little careful. So you could. Because I put that layer on, fixative, I can go back over it. And it's going to seal that color behind it. So the white will show through a little bit more. A lot of times gouache, when you use it, what happens is, say you put a white gouache over a dark color, a lot of times that dark color will bleed through. So you can add a little bit of fixative so that doesn't happen. Or use the acrylic gouache too. Sometimes you get a little bit more of a whiter opaque with acrylic gouache, or just acrylics really. I find the acrylic gouache very similar to your craft paint. Like that. What is the difference between pan pastels and chalk pastels to you? Chalk pastels are just as pigmented, but they have a lot of leftover dust. where the Pan Pastels has some secret ingredient, I don't know what it is, that stops that dust from happening. There's very little dust with the Pan Pastels, and they're just as pigmented as the other, but you have to use so much less when trying to apply it with the pastels instead of this stick. The stick usually has to be used on a very toothy surface, so like a sand paper type of thing. So it's a different way of application, basically. I don't know if that answers anything for you. So let's use some marker to make some trees. You could use a pen if you have it. A white marker somewhere. This one will work. Might. If you have a Posca marker, the fine one, they're great. So then we can add these trees. So let's see. Let's do some trees in here. So a lot of times these trees are done in a way. Don't think this is a great one. They're just very simple trees. Just a bunch of branches with smaller sticks on the end. Yeah, this one's just about done. I don't know where I put my pot. Oh, there it is. I think that the soft pastel sticks almost looks like diamond dust if you don't smear them out, so it looks more delicate, and the pan pastels look a bit flat, if it makes sense. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. It depends on how you're going to use them. Like I said, I use mine pretty much as a base coat in a lot of my stuff. And you just make these trees and bushes and whatnot in those areas, or you can make separate ones too. You can make it look like there's valleys and that type of thing. Maybe there's some trees on the hill here. And however you want to make the perspective is up to you. Because these are very whimsical, they can be whatever you want, really. Make them yours by experimenting and playing around, and especially in your whatever you're painting in, scrapbook or sketchbooks or journals. Play with it. Maybe there's a bigger tree in here. It goes up to the sky. It's behind that bush. Just make it up. You could put birds on it. Maybe this is a winter scene. Crisscross branches. Makes them look a little realistic. If you want a little bit realism in your work, you can do that. What else? Could have some little marks in your bottom area. I like the way that looks. You just kind of doodle a bunch of ferns. And they don't have to be realistic. That's the nice thing. They can just be stylized patterns. Put some more over here. Even though it's on white, we can still see it a bit. And then we could also go with black, or if you want a darker blue. But you want the same design in other areas, just not in one spot. So we'll put some more, maybe a bush here. You could have berries on the bush. Just try things. We'll put some darker colored Poscas on if you have it. I would stick with the colors that you have in your painting already. Don't go to another color. It looks more cohesive if you stick to the same palette. Let's put some crazy looking flower here, or maybe it's a weed. Maybe it's one of those Queen Anne's lace that's dried out. A bunch of them. Crisscross things so that they look more interesting. Overlap. Okay, let's get a nice dark color. Could either go with a dark blue. Let's go with, that's a fairly small one. Sharpie pen. Oh, thanks, Joan. Sharpie pen. Usually you can get away with it on watercolor. This has Pan Pastel on it, so it has been fixed, but sometimes you need to just scribble off to the side on another piece of paper to clean the nib. So let's add probably the same thing in here. So let's put some of those Queen Anne's lace in there. Make them different heights even. Just give them some interest to look at. You don't have to get real detailed either. Let's see one right here. You can see okay. Hopefully, I'm not in the way. Okay, so we have there, same type of tree. Let's put one of these fern-like things right here over top of the other one. It could be thicker if you wanted to, which might be a better idea. I guess I could get a thicker. Sometimes just the very intricate stuff looks nice though. It is tempting to just find a picture from the internet, paint it out, and then do a Posca doodling on. Yeah, that would be a cool idea, Lena. Awesome idea. Anything's possible. Just play. That's how you find out different things. That's how you find out your style, even. If you're not sure what your style is and you've been doing all kinds of tutorials from other artists, play with stuff like this. Start adding things that they didn't. Don't stick to what they're doing. Add things to it. That's how you find out cool ways of doing stuff. What else? Now, because we have black down here, we want to add it to the other places. So let's put a black tree in here, or a couple of them. Maybe it's a few. Just have fun with it is the main thing. This is just paper. You can always get more paper. And this is how you find new things, by doing. But you can't find it unless you experiment. Now you can make this as big as you want, as small as you want. Okay, like that. So we've got the black here, black there, maybe another one right. Let's make his eye real black. A little bit of fuzz on his tail, maybe. Under here, where it would be shadowed anyways. So we could put a little bit of dark in there. Right in here. Doesn't have to be the whole outline either. Let's put, I'm going to get a pencil again. Just dreaming this up as I go. Let's put at just the peak of a house. right in here. Maybe it's a log cabin. We could either just keep it like that, or we could color it in. Let's color it in, I think. And we'll leave the window. We'll put a little bit of a shine in the window. Like that, and maybe a little bit on the roof. Change it up a bit. Just a sneak peek. Could be snowing, who knows? Let's see, what else can we do? So we got the black going through. So we could put more and more and more and more and more. Depends what you want. We could do some shadows. That might be kind of cool. So say these little trees have shadows, so a little bit of that blue, like that. Like that. Depends how much you want to elaborate with, how much you want of detail. Let's make this a little darker in here. These. That. Let's just play. And then you can go back over it again with a spray fixative once you're done. If you wanted to take some of the pan pastels off, do you just put water on it? No, you don't put water on it, because it'll move the whole thing. If you want to take it off, use an eraser. So you can get these erasers depending on what you want, or these. They'll take off whatever you want. So let's see. What can we? Okay, let's take off this here. Oh, that's already been set. Well, I just did those trees. There, it's off. So a kneaded eraser, so it goes back onto the kneaded eraser, and then you just knead it to clean it. Or you can use a small eraser if you want to get real tiny areas. Or there's other erasers, the acryl, what's it called? The silicone, is it? Erasers or latex erasers, I think. The white ones. They're good too. You can use those. They'll work. Yeah. So let's put a few berries. I think it needs some berries or something. I think I'm going to put berries on my trees here. You want different textures, different forms to be more interesting. If you have all small stuff, then it gets kind of boring to look at as a viewer. So if you have a small, medium, and large pattern, that's the best. But sometimes you can't put those real large ones in. But you can change the shapes also. So if you have, see how it changed that look a little bit? You can make large leaves too. Let's fix these up a little bit. Maybe we'll want to add a stem. Like that. Maybe we'll take this down into here. Maybe it's part of this hill. It's there's so many ways of playing with it. Let's put little berries on this guy. And like I said, that's how you learn what works and what doesn't by doing. There we go. So you're bringing your eye up with pattern and with color. Wonder how to add glitter on top of the pan pastels. Wonder if it would stick just with the fixative. Just a minute. I'll show you. All right. We have sparkly pan pastels. Yep. So here's one. The black really shows up. You'll see the sparkle in it. You sparkle. But you got the glitter pan pastels. Yeah. I don't know how many. This is coarse. This is this regular. So this one is rich gold. So this one is more of a a glisten, I guess you could say, than a sparkle. I think you can get blue. This is copper. Now, I think there's a blue one. I'm not sure. You'll have to go on their website and see what colors. These were bought quite a few years ago. So these ones are bronze, copper, rich gold, light gold, pewter, silver, and this one is pearl. This one's coarse. You probably can't see it. It's hard to show. It's actually, let me rough it up a bit. It's very kind of shiny, I guess you could say. There's other ones, so you'd have to look. Sparkly Pan Pastels open a whole. Right, Mina? Yeah. Now, if you wanted to use your fine glitters, but I will say that the color blue and pink is not so useful as a pan pastel glitter. Not just getting the white glitter one. Yeah. But you could use your glitters, like regular glitter. What you could do, put a fixative on it, your painting, and then as the last coat, after you've done the fixative, you could mix the glitter in a glycerin type of medium and then paint it on. That would probably be the best way of doing it. But yeah, I'm sure there's a way. All right. So is there anything else you want to see me do here? You could add more sparkles if you want something. Now these would be kind of like distant ones. You could add more whiter ones, bigger ones here and there so that they look like they're more up front. If you wanted stars or if you wanted let's make this center a little bit whiter. Fix the moon up a little bit, make it a little bit like that. Pink pastel, I got medium for yeah, one pastel pan lasts forever. I've had these, mind you, I haven't used them every day, but it's so little you have to use. Here, I'll show you. I think I got a book where else I used them in. Just looking on my shelf here if I have it in here. And this is just sketchbook paper that I'll show you. I think I got one in here. see. Nope, it's not in there. I thought it was. Do I have it handy? I don't see it. I don't think I have it out here. Just hold on. Okay. Pan Pastels. Okay, that one, this one here is just copy paper that I use Pan Pastels on. Just to give you an idea, there is a video of this one. So this was done with Pan Pastel as a base coat and then colored pencil on top. Oh yeah, decades. Wonder, do they get oily or dry out? Nope, I've had mine, let's see, 15 years, and they're still the same. Yeah, do not put water in them. Keep them clean. So don't use dirty brushes or that type of thing on them. What else did I do here? That's Pan Pastels in grays. I do like using them in portraits. So these are like 2015. I like this one. I really love this one. So this is on tan paper and it's fairly smooth, but you can get some pretty good application of pastels on there. I don't have a lot in here. And my old Frankie, he was fun to do. Pastels and colored pencil. That was another pastels and colored pencil. So yeah, I just play with stuff and you'll see how easy it is to incorporate watercolor or pastels and colored pencil. Is that a special? That was just this is just copy paper for the printer that I did this one on. Nothing special. That's what I mean. You don't have to put a lot of pastel on to get the pigment out of it. These are pastel matte. This one here is pastel matte. So it's a little bit got a little bit more of a tooth to it. And actually, I don't care for paper that's got a lot of tooth when using pan pastels. They leave it kind of grainy looking. Here, like this one here. If you can see the grainy look to it, I don't like that. I like a smooth finish. This here is just Strathmore Tone tan paper. You can get it in gray. I think there's a green one and this tan one. So it's fairly smooth. It's not textured. So that's why I love these pastels so much, because you don't need special paper. Okay. So you do have to watch the hands, though, because they do get dirty. Thanks, Lena. Oh, thanks, Laura. Yeah, Paul Newman was in there. That was one I did when I was first experimenting. I didn't care for it too much. I should try him again. I've been into painting more than pastels and colored pencil, as you know. Mr. Bunny needs a name and to be hugged on a wall. He is cute, isn't he? What should we name him? But like I said, you can add all kinds of stuff to these. You could add pine trees. Go look at Amanda Clark and you'll get some fantastic inspiration and ideas on what to put in yours. Thanks for coming, Dorothy. I'm glad you liked it. You can add owls, you can add crows, fox, all kinds of stuff. So I hope this gave you some ideas, some inspiration to try things yourself and experiment with your watercolor and whatever supplies you have sitting on that shelf. Oh, thanks, B. Skin tones, I would think, would be very challenging. It can be in the beginning, but there is a easy way of doing it, and I do have a video on that. Look for that picture of the where did I put it? Of that guy. I can't remember his name. He's from Supernatural, the show. Look for this picture in the thumbnail, and I show the whole process. It's sped up a little bit, but um, Engelbert Humperdinck. Sure. Is it Dean? Yeah, well, in the show, yeah, it was Dean, but I can't think of his was it is it Jason? He's got a very strange last name, I can't remember. Yeah, so it's got the whole process. Um, if you want to go and check that out of how I put the pan pastels, what colors I use, and how I use color pencil to finish it. And I'm going to be doing a bunch more of these. I do have some surprises coming of stuff I've been working on. I'm going to start with some fairies. Now, a little different than the fairies I've done, but some fairies. So make sure you ring that bell and click notifications for when I start putting those out. All right, I guess I'll let you guys go, and I hope this inspired you, and hope you get out your stuff and try things for yourself. Yeah, spring fairies. All right, I'll let you guys go. Have a fantastic day, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.